Hello, everyone. It's Monday. Yeah, it's Monday. And it's another edition of Travel the World as a Speaker. I am your host, Phylecia Jones, and thank you so very much for being here, because today we're going to talk about paying to speak is a business expense. So we're going to talk about when you actually are using speaking for marketing, lead generation, and you have to come out of pocket to pay for it. So we're going to talk about that and how it is a beneficial business expense, but it has a few gotchas. And I want you to be very aware of the gotchas, because I don't want you to get caught up and end up spending a whole bunch of money. So we're going to talk about that. And of course, this show is brought to you by iFind You Clothes. I know my brain is in so many different places. This show is brought to you by iFind You Clothes. And what we do, we actually send out speaking opportunities for those of you who are wanting to get on stage to market your business. Today, every Monday, we send out brand new leads, and we just sent out a bunch of brand new leads today. So go ahead and check us out at ifindyouclothes.com. So really excited about that, and I got to put it in the stories here on Instagram. I know I forgot. We have so many things going on because I, like everybody else, I was watching the Harry and Meghan interview last night. Oh, all kinds of tea being spilt over in the UK at this exact moment. And I do have a podcast, Humans Exhaust Me, so we talked about that on the show today as well. So it's been a very fun and busy day. And so before we get into our topic, I have to tell you our little travel story, because that's what we do here, or that's what I do. I don't know who else is here but me. So I combine the two things that I love the most, and that is travel and speaking. So I give you a travel story, and then we talk about how you can leverage speaking so that you can travel, which will go into today's discussion about speaking and business expenses. So let's go ahead and move because we're coming to you live here on Instagram and from our YouTube channel. Yeah, you can go subscribe to one of us. I don't care, the YouTube channel or the Instagram channel. Just subscribe to something. So let me tell you. So here's today's travel story. It's going to be a year ago today. Now, if you have not been under a bush somewhere, we have dealt with a pandemic. So a year ago today, I actually was coming back home from Orlando. So technically it was a Monday, but the date is actually tomorrow. Let's just pretend it was today. It's today, tomorrow, that type thing. And I actually had just finished my first live event called the Speakers Pitch Lab. So that poster right there, Pitch Lab back there. The Speakers Pitch Lab, it was in collaboration with PodFest Media Expo in Orlando, Florida. So leading up to this, we were dealing with all of the things around COVID. People were canceling. We had people coming in from different countries, and it was like, are y'all still okay? Let me know. So we went ahead and did it. We were all juiced up and wiping everything down. But this was the day coming home, and things were getting a little bit more serious around what was happening with COVID. And I just remember that this was the week, and I will probably talk about this all week. This was the week that I had 2 more speaking engagements, and little did I know that we would be doing this, So it is fascinating looking back on all of this, and that, wow, it's been a year. A year goes slow, but it can go really, really fast. I mean, my hair was like not this long, and trust me, it's grown a lot because it was all shaved off here on the side. But it's just fascinating to just be very appreciative of where we were being in Orlando. Little did I know that'd be like one of the last times I would actually get on an airplane, was to come back home on this day. And never get on an airplane for a while. I think it'll be a while before I get on an airplane. In the meantime, we are road trippers, so we can drive wherever we want. But oh yeah, just kind of thinking about it is surreal, is sad, is like, oh my gosh, some memories. I wish I can go back to it. Woo, little did we know what we were walking into, but you know what? I'm here, I'm alive, I'm appreciative of what we're doing. We have been thriving over at iFind You Clothes, and still excited to see speakers pivoting and changing and doing so many amazing things in this virtual world. So with that, we need to go ahead and talk about your expenses, because I think that this week and next week are going to be very, I don't know, sentimental kind of for me because next week is my birthday and this is like when all of this started going down. So yeah, who knew? Who knew? I would spend a year in the house with my husband and the dog. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this speaking as a business expense. So as we are going into the rest of 2021 and especially going into, hey Carrie, how you doing? You know, and especially, you know, because Carrie was there with us in Orlando last year. It's been a year, Carrie. It's been a year. Oh, it's been a year. Okay, so we got to talk about these business expenses. So as we're going later on into 2021 and into 2022, a lot of us are using speaking for lead generation now. So how things were working before we had to do all these virtual events, most of us would foot our own bill. We would pay for our hotel, our lodging. I mean, hotel and lodging, same thing, but you get what I'm saying. Transportation, all these things to get to these events, to get in front of these large audiences so that we could generate leads for our business. Now, I like this idea. Sorry about that. I like this idea because a lot of us have done it. A lot of us have done it, and it really does work whenever you are able to get in the position to show that you are an expert. Now, it only works if you have something to sell, though. It only works if you have something to sell. So, because what happens if you do this too many times, you can spend a lot of money. And I think we talked about this on one of the previous shows, but you can spend a lot of money coming out of pocket to go speak at an event. So I have always been on everybody who is a member of iFind You Close, anybody I've worked with one-on-one, do not get on stage unless you got something to sell, because just from my own experience, you can easily just spend a lot of money having fun and not having it convert. Like if you're not speaking to get paid, but if you're speaking for lead generation, you got to do what the rest of that thing says. You know, speaking, and then the rest of that sentence, lead generation. You need to generate some leads. So that's what we all have to be paying attention to. And Carrie is saying that she's missing seeing humans in person. It's been a year. Can't believe that was last conference in person. I know, Carrie. I know. I mean, Carrie was there at the Pitch Lab with us in Podfest. That was the last conference I've been to. Last room of, I won't say it's the last room of humans. I had, this particular week, I had 2 more gigs. They were tiny, but a lot of people weren't showing up because of like, ooh, I don't want people to lick on me. So that's kind of where we were this week last year. Now, with all of that, like I said, you know, going to events like, and speaking, you got to be very mindful of how much money you are spending because it can get pricey. The benefit is that it is a business expense. So for those of you who are trying to leverage speaking in your 9 to 5, I highly encourage you to take the steps to create a business around what you are doing so that you can get this write-off. Now, if your company is paying for everything, great. But if you are, you know, like a business owner, like most of us are, you're going to have to come out of pocket. So I highly encourage you to create a business so that you can have these write-offs. So, you know, so that at least it won't hurt as much, you know, it won't hurt as much while you're doing this. But I will say you need to make sure you have a product. You need to have something to sell, because speaking for lead generation, you got to finish the sentence. You got to generate leads, and you got to generate leads for something. If you're just speaking for fun, then you got to be okay with that. If you don't have anything to sell, you need to be okay with that. But what happens is that a lot of us, we have iffy products, and we don't know how to make a sale, and we don't know how to talk about it, and then we spend $1,200 to go speak, and then we get all in our feelings because we say, oh, it was a waste of time because nobody bought anything. It's like, well, you didn't tell anybody that you had something to sell because you didn't have anything to sell while you were there. So that's why I'm telling you, you got to pay attention to everything matters. That's it. Everything matters with what you're doing, especially if you're using speaking as a lead generation tool. So first, make sure you have something to sell. 2, know how to sell it. Okay. 3, you can write off these expenses, but you got to be very mindful of how many of these you're going to do each year. Now, you can't go to 10 conferences. Now, you can. Maybe, I'm not judging. You do whatever you want. But you can go to 10 conferences, but on average, you will be spending about $1,200 every time you go. So if you can put out that money, you better be generating some leads so that you can close some deals. And you better have something more than just a book. I hate to say it that way, because you're not going to be selling that many books. So you better have something that could make up how much money you are putting out as marketing. So remember, when you're doing all of this, it is part of your marketing expenses, okay? Using speaking as marketing. So you got to budget for it. You got to plan for it. You got to figure out how much you are going to spend so that you don't go broke, okay? Because a lot of us speakers will do it. I just personal experience. You can spend a lot of money doing this and not have the biggest return on investment. So I had to learn early on, like, okay, we can't just be doing this, because I love traveling and I love speaking. But at some point, when you got to come home and justify it to the other business partners, to your spouse, to yourself at nighttime, you might realize that it's just not working out for you. So if you're going to do this, I highly recommend you budget. Put in a budget, put in a line item, how much money you can afford to spend when you're doing speaking as lead generation, okay? Make sure you figure out how much is going to spend you can spend, and at the same time figure out how many things you need to sell so that you can cover the costs and make a profit. You got to figure that out. And if you don't have anything to sell, maybe sit this one out, okay? Go local. You don't have to travel all over the world to do this. So you got to make it worthwhile, unless it's something that you really want to do, okay? And yes, it is a business expense. Take the business expense, but at the same time, you only see the reward of a business expense write-off when you do taxes. You got to still get through the rest of the year with the current expenses, because I really don't want you to go into debt. I don't want you to run up credit cards, all for doing something that I know you love, something that I know is fun, something that'll get you to see the world. But what it will lead to is a lot of stress. You got to be a very smart business person when you're doing all of these moving parts inside of your business, no matter what it is. But you got to be very smart with all of these moves, and you have to make sure there is a return on investment for you. Now, of course, if you got any questions about any of this, go ahead and put them in the comment box. I'm not going to hold up all your time today because I'm trying to practice getting these shows down to 15 minutes. But I really wanted to stress this thing about expenses. You can write it off, but there are some gotchas that go along with it. Now, with that, of course, I'm going to sign off because I got another presentation to do in about 45 minutes. So I get to switch on my other hat and talk money. I guess we did talk money today, but I get to go talk budgeting and getting out of debt. Yay! Because in my other life, that's what I do. That's what I do. I know. I talk money. I'm a budgetologist. There you go. So with that, for my folks here on Instagram and for those of you here on YouTube, if you're looking for speaking opportunities, like I said, we have brand new ones that came out today. You can go check those out at iFindYouClose.com. Check the link in the bio for those of you here on Instagram. And make sure you subscribe. Subscribe to us here. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we do this every day and we talk about some fun stuff. So I'm not really sure what we're talking about tomorrow, but just tune in. I'm sure it's going to be fun. And I will have a fun travel story for you, because I talked about not being able to go to a bathroom for 5 hours. I mean, it doesn't get much more fun than that, right? All right. I'll see you soon. So take care of yourselves over there. Carrie, thank you for joining. I hope you are well. Text me. Tell me how you're doing. I'll see you soon. All right, my YouTube people, you know I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe if you're watching this, okay? See ya.